I'm here now with Nick Miller and Xander Samuels from Leverage Companies. Thank you so much for coming here. Before we dive into the serious discussions and the questions that I have prepared for you guys, I want to ask you about how you guys met at Leverage Companies.
Sure. Yeah, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. So me and Nick actually, before, we worked together, we actually started with faith, right? So me and Nick actually met each other at church, right? So, the owner of our company, David, we all go to church every single Sunday together to keep our faith strong. And me and Nick actually met one day at church, and, one day he just asked to come to the office on a Saturday, and it went up from there. Honestly, he started coming consistently every single Saturday. And then, we moved to the new office, and, the opportunity for him to work with us, kind of came. So we went from there.
Yeah. Do you find that you mentioned that you guys met at a church? Do you find that religion is important in business?
Yeah, I would say from what I've seen so far, just like I think religion is, or at least faith, maybe not religion as the institution, but I think faith in general is very important in life and kind of how you approach business as well. Because if you can like treat other people and like well, and you kind of live those values out, that like there's nothing bad that can really like come of it, It's like as long as you're giving, I think it'll, not that you're giving in it with the intention of getting back, but I think it's important like that you treat people with that respect and that you live out those values and understand that, like the blessings that like come upon you, like you just have to be a good steward of that, and that's like it's definitely like an interesting part that I'm learning personally. I don't know about your experience so far, Xander, but it's like learning to be a good steward of, your finances or your business, like your family, like your friends, like how you, because everything, it's not like really ours, like at the end of the day, it's like we're all gonna go at some point, but it's like a manner, like how well can you take care of others. And I think it's very important. There's obviously a lot of successful people who don't have faith in business, but I think for us and where we're at Leverage Companies, I think it is the core value for sure.
If I'm being honest, like I think that's a great question, because I feel as if faith is the most important thing in business, right? Truly putting God first, right? In every single aspect of business, right? That gives you more protection, right? Over, the outcome, right? Because I feel as if like, as humans, what we try to do is we try to control a lot of things, right? But what you really have to do is, let God take the wheel, right? It's all in God's hands. And, if you put your business in God's hands, things are going to work out in God's way, right? So I think that faith is really the most important thing, honestly, in business and in life in general, honestly.
You're saying do as best as you can in the things that you have and leave the rest to God, and whatever happens is for the best.
Yeah, it's like the law of detachment, right? Like I feel as if like we all as humans, we try to control things way too much, right? Instead of just allowing things to happen in God's timing, right? It's divine timing, right? You can't control everything. The only thing that you can do is do the little things right every single day, and then just put your faith in God, and He's going to take the wheel and make everything happen for you, right?
Right. So just take the opportunities that you have in your hand and just hope for the best. All right. Well, Nick, I have some questions for you because I know your career is very unique. You started out in aerospace engineering. You went into sales, and then you went into real estate. So I want to ask you about your journey of how that happened.
Sure. Yeah, it was, it's pretty crazy even like for myself, like looking back at where I'm at now, like kind of where I've come from. So I started out not really knowing, me and Xander were actually talking about this on the way here. Like I felt like after I graduated high school, like I didn't really know what to do. I didn't really know if I wanted to go to college, but I thought that I had to. So I ended up choosing to learn, like study physics. I was like, it was a good class. I liked physics. So I was majored in physics, and my first year of school at the University of Colorado Boulder, I hated it. I was like, this stinks. Like, this is horrible. Like, I can't see myself doing this. It's like, what do I do now? Like, I don't know. So I was like, well, I guess space is cool. So I chose aerospace engineering, and I surrounded myself with a bunch of like really smart, good people that were kind of helping me along. And, I did that, graduated in 2021, and then got a job in north of Grumman. So I was working there for 2 years in Colorado and California. And it was weird because on paper, like it looked like I was doing everything right. My parents were proud. I was doing everything. I graduated. I have a good job. I'm making X amount of dollars a year. Like was this the goal, right? Like this must have been the goal. But I still kind of felt like there was so much more potential for me, like that was out there, and that like I could do. And I did a bunch of different things. I was looking at different businesses to start. I always had this kind of entrepreneurial spark in me. And so like we were talking about earlier, I was on Twitter, like trying to start, like build a Twitter following, doing ghostwriting all while I was working at the engineering company. So I met a bunch of great people through some cohorts online, like made some really great friends that I'm still friends with to this day, or in Canada, one's in the UK. And yeah, from there, I quit my engineering job. I just kind of took a leap of faith, and my lease ended. I was living with one of my friends, like sleeping on his couch in San Pedro, California. Did that for a couple months. And eventually I was like, you know what? I don't really know. I still don't know like what I want to do. I'm like, I'm doing this, like I'm making a little bit of money here and there. But I was like, you know what? I don't know what I want to do, but I know I need to learn sales. So I said, all right. I packed everything up, and I moved back home. This was in 2023, and moved back in with my parents. And like again, on paper, I'm like, oh my gosh, now I'm back home. Like I'm back to a start, But I was like, okay, I need to learn sales. So I literally went on Indeed. I found a job working for a company door knocking for storm restoration, like roofing sales, and I just hit the ground running. Like it was rough during the first couple months doing that, because never having any sales experience at all, like learning, getting doors slammed in your face, just facing that rejection. Like it was super hard at first because I'd never exposed myself at that level. It's like it's I don't know, like for whoever is out there like wanting to get into sales, like you really should do it, because I think not only for the potential financial opportunity or business opportunity, but just the fact that like there's so much to learn, and you can learn so much about yourself by doing that. But fast forward, actually through that company and like door knocking is actually how we met, which was kind of funny. Yeah, I can get into that now, or we can touch on that later. But like I think it must have been like November of last year or something. I think I knocked on your guys' door.
Correct. And
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And I think I spoke to your dad, and again I got another no. He was like, not interested, I'm good. I was like, okay, move on to the next. And then a few months later I got a call, and we met up and spoke and everything. That's how we got connected. But after doing that for a while, I was still, okay, like I'm learning sales. Like I've always been interested in real estate a little bit. And I started listening to, while I was driving, knocking doors, I was listening to this podcast, a podcast by Deals and Dollars, by David Choi, who owns Leverage Companies. And listened to the entire podcast while I drive and knocking doors. And I was in the gym one day in Clifton. And this is like when I wasn't as strong like in my faith, and I'm still learning more about that, but I truly believe it was like divine intervention. Like it was God telling me like, you need to be here right now. And I was walking, I remember it so distinctly. I was walking in between the machines, like with some dumbbells, and I see this big, like buff Asian dude walking towards me. And I'm like, I recognize this guy. Like, who is this guy? And then as he comes closer, he's on the phone. I'm like, Choi? And he's like, hey, what's up, dude? We have to go. And then I kind of like hovered, like he was on the phone. I was like, oh my gosh, like, he's got this many followers on Instagram. Like, I'm kind of like starstruck a little bit. And I'm like, I got to talk to this guy. Like, I got to talk to him. Even if it was just to say like, thank you for like what you do, like the value you provide on the podcast. And I kind of like stalked him a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I was behind the machines waiting for him to get off the phone. He was like stretching on the mats. So I got off the phone, I went up to him, hey dude, like, I just want to say thank you for what you do. And he's talking to me. And oh, what do you do? Like super like genuinely interested in like what I build. Like I'm like a nobody, I'm like, what? Yeah, why do you care about what I do? And telling him, I was like, whoa, dude, you quit your job, you're doing this, that's crazy, that's awesome. He said, hey, here, dude, here's this sales course. He just like within 5 minutes, he gave me this course. So like we're in sales. Like, oh my gosh, okay. Like, here's don't worry about it. Here, take this course. I said, dude, it's great meeting you, like blah, blah, like best of luck. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And like he was about to leave and I was like, David, like I just want to say like, I grew up Catholic, but going to college and moving away, I kind of fell out of it, my faith. And he talks a lot about his faith and God in his podcast. And I was like, I started reading the Bible again and picking it back up. And I just want to say like, I just wanted to share that with you because I think that was like very key. Like I feel like I'm growing in that. And he's like, dude, I can't, like that makes me so happy. You have to come to my church. And so I came to his church. That's where I met Xander. And that was last year sometime. What is it, August now? That must have been October, November.
Yeah, it was like October, November last year.
Yeah, last year. And eventually I got to know these guys and kind of see how they work. And the opportunity came up to interview and potentially join the team at Leverage. And that's how I'm now.
You never know what you're going to need.
Dude. And that, like, it sounds so crazy. Even to me, it blows my mind because just even those little journeys, like us meeting, like, we're here now, like all these little things, you're like, this has to be God. Yeah. Like, there's no other reason. And, I'm incredibly grateful and thankful. And yeah, it's crazy. It's just so wild. So wild. The journey so far, there's more to come. So I'm excited.
You mentioned the leap of faith that you took when you quit your job at engineering.
Yeah.
I can imagine the pressure from everyone else not supporting your decision on this. What made you push through anyways?
Yeah, that was actually like a pretty dark time, I feel like, in my life. I was like very depressed, to be honest, because I didn't know what to do, right? Like I felt, and it was all these expectations that I really put on myself. It wasn't so much like, oh, like you shouldn't do that and that's a bad idea. Like I really didn't talk to many people about it because I was afraid of what they would think, like what they would say. But I just kind of realized, like, walking through the hallways, and I'm a talkative person, so I like saying hi to people. And I just didn't see myself there in 40 years. I saw people like 40 years ahead of me who were working at this company. And I said, do I really want is that me in 40 years? Is there somebody else that should be in my place, like who really cares more about what I'm doing right now? Because I don't feel that passionate about it.
You were chasing somebody else's dream.
It's exactly what it felt like. And so it's funny because during that time, I had been asking for a raise. I was leading a team, was doing systems engineering. So I was helping coordinate with customers and projects and kind of helping manage the team. But I was the youngest and lowest paid person on the team. And I was asking for, hey, like, I think, I'm doing they say I'm doing a good job. I think I should, give me a little more money here. Come on, guys. And like, no, sorry, I need to be here for X amount of years, this and that. And finally I was like, I don't know what I have to do, but I know that I have to do this. It starts here. So I really have to put my feet to the fire and like figure it out. Because when you really put the pressure on yourself, and I think Xander can attest to this too, is like when you really put the pressure on yourself and make a decision that forces you to act, that's when you really see the change, And so I remember putting in my letter of resignation, and immediately, like, the director of that part of the company took me into her office. We want to give you more money. And I was like, I'm okay. But I said, no, thank you. And I actually have the letter of resignation, like, framed on my wall in my room, because it just signified to me like such an important step in my own journey of like having faith that like it's going to work out. And I know that this is the right decision. even if I'm like broke for the next like 5-10 years, I know that I'm proud of like where I stood, like that. There's more. I know there's more out there for me, and I know there's more that I can give and like provide, and like I need to just go figure that out. So, long story short, yeah, that's kind of a journey there. Yeah.
So even if it's against all the odds, chase your own dreams, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So Xander, I know you've been in the acquisitions and deal making industry in real estate for a while. I wanted to learn about your experience and how you got to where you are in leverage companies.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a long story. It's a long story, honestly. Yeah. So, like, just to start off, like you said, like a lot of people think I'm a lot older than I am, but I'm 20 years old, right? I'll be 21 in October, right? So the story starts back in a place far away from here. The story starts back from Kansas City, Missouri, right? So I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri. So from the age of, from birth to 19 years old, I was in Kansas City, Missouri. Yeah. So I've actually only been in Jersey for a year, right? And I'd say that transition was the greatest decision I've ever made in my life. You really have to take that leap of faith, like, Nick was talking earlier, right? You have to burn the boats for success sometimes, right? You to truly take that next step in your career and your faith, like sometimes you have to just say, hey, like, there's no other option but success. That's why failure is not even an option, because there's no other option but success, right? So, COVID had hit freshman year. My freshman year in high school, COVID had hit, was 2020. And I remember, I was playing football, things of that nature. I wanted to go to the NFL, like a lot of kids, like they want to go like play NBA, NFL, soccer, things of that nature. But, COVID had hit, and, I got infatuated with making money online and things of that nature. Right. So scrolling through TikTok, I'm seeing these kids 15, 16 make thousands of dollars a year, just trading stocks. Right. So initially I started in the stock market. Right. So I was go up into like 2021 sophomore year. Me and one of my good friends, Tommy, right, we started trading stocks. So we had a little small reselling business. We were just reselling shoes. Like we were buying them low, selling them high. Then we were reselling graphics cards as well. Like we would buy like a graphics card for like $2,000. We would wait in line all day and we would buy it for $2,000, and then we would sell it for like $3,000, right? So we got the proof of concept of making money pretty young, right? So we took the profits from that, put in the stock market, and mind you, this is sophomore year of high school, right? So I remember I had like the online classes and things of that nature, and I'm listening to, the teachers talk about college and all this and this stuff, and it's like, after I got involved with the stock market, like trading like the S&P 500 stock options, I mean, between me and Tommy in like 3 or 4 months, we made like $50,000, right? Like,
yeah, so that's impressive.
So like your sophomore year of high school, you have $50,000 and you're logged in the Zoom and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be in the Zoom. Like, I know. So once I had the proof of concept of making money there, I knew that I wasn't going to school, right? I think that going to school is a great path, but it's not a path for everyone, right? But once I had the proof of concept in business and making money, I knew I didn't want to go to school. But long story short, how I got into real estate is because just as quick as the money can come, it can go quickly, especially when you're like in something like high risk. Like, we know guys like who make thousands of dollars a day, like in sports betting and things of that nature. The way that we were trading the stocks, it wasn't the most responsible. I mean, we were kids, but we literally lost the $50,000 in 2 days. So it was devastating. It was heartbreaking, actually.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. And the funny thing about it is we lost some money on NVIDIA. How dumb it was looking on it now. It's the most valuable stock in the entire stock market. And we bet $25,000 worth of put options for it to go down. So we betted that NVIDIA was going to drop. It was going to tank for that day because we were day trading. And we lost our hats. Like, it was terrible. We lost $25,000 the first day. It was heartbreaking. And then the next day we were like, this is the last $25,000. We're just going to put it all in. It lost again the second day. I'm like, man, so I went broke, right? So I just went from like, sophomore year, I'm like, okay, I'm about to make this much. I'm counting, my eggs before they hatch, and then we lost some money. Long story short, 2 days, we lost the $50,000. So I'm like, wow, what do we do next? So I get on YouTube, I'm looking, and my father actually is in real estate as well. But I didn't want to do real estate just because my dad did real estate, right? I wanted to find my own path. But the thing about real estate is, real estate, it's proven that it creates the most millionaires, right? Most millionaires own real estate. Like, this is statistically proven, right? So I was like, okay, let me stop being so hard-headed and like let me just dive into real estate, like full blast. So about junior year of high school, I started to learn about different ways of acquiring like multifamily property through creative financing, subject to things of that nature. And I just relentlessly studied it every day, right? So it was like COVID time. So like after school was over, I would study for like 8-9 hours just on business every single day, every single day, every single day, every single day, every single day. And then I got my first deal, right? I was a junior in high school. I had my grandfather like sign off on the docs, right, to get my first deal, my first wholesale deal when I was 17, right? So, you know, I did that and I was closing deals in Kansas City, and then we went virtual, and then a lot happened, right? So then I had a girlfriend and we broke up. It broke my heart, right? And then I just stopped real estate completely. I was about 18 at this point. So I was like, I need a change in my life, right? Mind you, I was in Kansas City from 0 to 18. I lost 50 grand. I'm making money now. My girlfriend broke up with me and I was like, I need a change in my life. So I had a high-rise apartment in downtown Kansas City. I was 18. It was the coolest thing ever, honestly. And I remember it was me and my boy Lincoln, and I had like the nice TV up and I had the skyline. And we were still doing the work, right, of learning real estate, but we just weren't, we weren't taking action, right? And taking action is the most important thing in any business. It doesn't matter the business model, just like you with the podcast, right? Like you took action immediately on, you know, making the podcast, and look at us now, right? So it's funny because it always starts off with the Deals and Dollars podcast. It started with the Deals and Dollars podcast, right? I was watching a podcast on multifamily real estate because, you know, I do mostly like commercial acquisitions. So I was studying multifamily real estate and I watched this podcast with this guy named David Choi. I'm like, who is this guy? Really? And on the podcast, he was getting crazy. Like, he was just so funny. I'm like, who is this guy? Right. And at the time, like the podcast only had like 1,000 views. I look him up on Instagram. At the time, he only had 25,000 followers, right? At the time. So I sent him a cold DM, right? I'm like, hey, David, I want to learn about, I really like what you're doing. I want to learn about multifamily real estate. I want to learn how to raise money for deals. I want to be like you. Like, I just like, how do you do what you do? And all these things. I didn't expect for him to respond, right? At the time, I was selling cars, right? Because I just wanted to do something, right? And I got into sales, so I was selling cars. Like, I was like a 20 car a month guy, and I got kind of bored of it. But he ended up responding to me, and I was like, wow, oh my gosh, this guy actually responded. Like, I had never been to the East Coast, never been to New Jersey, ever in my life, right? So I'm talking with David over the phone, and he's like, yo, you want to come out here and work for me? I'm like, mind you, I'm in Merriam, Kansas, right? I'm in Kansas at this time on FaceTime with this guy I never met before. He's like, yo, do you want to move your life and come work for me? And I'm like, well, you got to just brand the boat. Like, I mean, why not? Like, let's do it. So I flew out, like literally like a week later, I flew out, I met the team. And then about 3 weeks later, I moved. I just said, you know, I know my family's still in Kansas City. I love them. I know I have my past life here, but you know, for me to become who I want to be in the future, I have to sadly sacrifice who I am now. And I made that decision. And, you know, ever since July 15th, 2024, you know, I've been at Leverage Companies. And that was, you know, the greatest decision I've ever made in my life, honestly.
And I know in the industry of sales in real estate, I can imagine there are a lot of people that don't really care about the customers and how they feel, just for the sake of profit and making money.
Yeah.
How do you restrain yourself from becoming like that?
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, I'm curious what, Xander, your perspective is on this, but when I started, I felt like I was coming from, you know, bank account's not looking too great. Like, I need to make some money. You know, I don't have a job right now. Like, I really need to make something happen. And that puts you into this mindset of scarcity to where you value like the sale and the transaction over everything else. When in reality, because that puts you in a bad position, right? Because when you're talking to a potential client or like a lead, you know, if you're coming from if you're coming from the perspective of like, I need this to happen, like I need this sale to happen, versus are we a good fit? Can I help this person? They're totally two different ends of the spectrum. And I've found myself, I still have to catch myself continually, because there are times where like, oh, like I really want to get an appointment. I really want to get, you know, this deal, really want to get this. But you have to take a step back, reorient, and realize you can't help everybody. Like there are times where I'll hop on calls with people and say, listen, like you guys might want to sell the house, but we're probably not the best person to buy it for you, honestly. I can point you in the right direction, but this is what I'm seeing. This is where you're at. Maybe you're not ready yet. And we'll touch base in 6 months and see where we can go from there. Because if I were to try to push that now, it's going to just crash and burn. Like it's not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to really be able to help them. But maybe me just giving them like sound advice and like being a human with them, like that might set us up for maybe work together again in the future, But I'm curious, what do you think on that, Xander?
Yeah, I think that, so, sometimes, we deal with all different asset classes underneath the sun, whether that's a, 18-story apartment building to a single family in the hood, right? So, when we're talking to some of these clients, so part of our sales process is going and meeting with clients in person, right? So sitting in a room like this in a house that's completely deteriorated, they're behind on their bills. A lot of things can happen. Like they could lose the house or, make money and profit, right? These are the type of situations that we're walking into every day, right? So when you're sitting with the client face to face and you see the pain in their face, right? When you see the kids outside, not the best area, not the best situation, you have to kind of put this sale aside and just think like, how can I actually help this person? And sometimes it's hard, right? Because in different roles, right? Sometimes you're just making phone calls all day. And you make so many phone calls and you have the same conversation that you forget that on the other end of the line, you're talking to another human, just like yourself. But really understanding the situation and really just caring about people. And like I said earlier, just like putting the people first always. And that's just on the front of the mind. That really helps with, keeping that the target and not getting, straight upon from like, I don't know, just like thinking about like different things like, oh, I want this sell. I call that commission burn. Like that's terrible. Like you don't want to seem desperate. And that's in sales in general. You never want to seem too desperate for sell, one. And two, you actually need to care about the people that you're working with. I can guarantee anyone listening, right? If you care about the people that you're working with, you're going to get a lot more deals. You're going to get a lot more clients. You're going to get a lot more business just because you put the people first. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, 100%.
You mentioned you call a lot of people and you have like the same conversations I can imagine. Most of them ending up with no, or I'll call you back later if I need it. How do you stay human? Because I can imagine it becoming robotic and repetitive, like you're reading the same script. How do you keep your sanity in that?
That's a great question. It really comes down to a few different factors, right? Like the first factor I would say is passion. One, right? Like you're one no away from a yes, right? So it's like when I'm thinking about wanting a deal and what that can do for my life, I'm not only thinking for the immediate gratification. I'm thinking long-term gratification. I'm thinking 10 years from now. I'm 20 now. I'm thinking about when I'm 30. I'm thinking about when I'm 40, 50, right? So I know the work that I'm putting in right now, I'm passionate about it because it's going to pay me in the future. So it doesn't really drive me crazy because I'm thinking about the outcome down the line, one. And two, every situation is kind of different, right? Like it's the same framework of a conversation, but I know Nick could probably attest to this. We hear crazy stories on the phones. Like you hear like the craziest stories from different people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of entertaining, honestly. Like if I'm being honest, like you hear crazy stuff on the phone. So you're like, wait, what? You did what? Or this happened? So it's entertaining. So it's the same framework, but every conversation is honestly different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Xander said, it's crazy the situations that we'll walk into sometimes in person, but even on the phone, like one day you'll have somebody like crying on the phone, like their heart out because they're going through something so tough. And then maybe like 30 minutes later, you have somebody like cracking up, laughing, and it really comes down to like bringing the humanity back into it, because although there is a script and there's a process that we're like trying to adhere to, you'll never, I think only one time I had somebody where they perfectly like followed the script, and like, in our script, it's like, oh, you're going to move to North Carolina. They're like, yeah, I'm going to move to North Carolina. I was like, oh my God, I've been training for this, but keeping yourself entertained as well. And it really helps you, because when you're trying to have fun with it, then it brings out the humanity even more. Cause then people realize like, oh, this isn't just like a guy in another country trying to like get money from it. It's just, you're talking to them like another person. Like, oh, like I'll tell people, hey, you going to, Labor Day weekend, like, you guys going to the beach, like that has nothing to do with real estate, but it's like part of like you were building rapport at the same time as like you're getting out of the monotony of, oh, like you want to buy this, or like you have to sell your house, or there's so much more that goes into it, because then people get disarmed and then they're willing to have a conversation versus like, no, I'm not interested, and hang up the phone.
I'm having a conversation, like I'm just thinking about all the crazy conversations I've had. I'm working a deal right now on like a 25-unit apartment complex right now with a guy. He's like an older guy, tired landlord. He just wants to get out of the business, right? He owns his 25 units. We're working a deal. And yesterday, as we're talking about next steps, proceeding to closing, he just got on this tangent about how he crashed his helicopter. And I'm like, one, you have a helicopter, and two, how did that even happen? And then he goes down like the things that you will hear on the phones keeps you so entertained, and it just makes you want to talk to more people. And like, just knowing that you're one no away from the next yes, it's like a dance, right? Oh, you don't want to sell. Why don't you want to sell? It's like a fight. It's a fight until you get down that process. So we just kind of use that, and I know Nick will probably attest to this as well. You just use that as fuel to the fire, to stay consistent, to have those conversations, because it just makes the business fun, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully we all have a helicopter in the future that we get to have the problem of crashing it. So we all have moments in business when something doesn't go our plan. These times, we said we don't like to call them failures. They're learning experiences. How do you rebound off them and make the most of them?
It's a great question. Yeah, I think, I don't know, there's been so many times like in my journey, even over the past like 2 years, where things like haven't gone the way that I wanted them to. And I felt like a few of them definitely like hurt pretty bad. Like, to give you a quick story, when I was door knocking, I was doing storm restoration stuff. So, hey, there was a big storm in the area. I can help you have damage I can see on your roof. I can help you get that paid for through your insurance company. Because not many people know that it's a covered loss, and that there are a lot of tricks, not even tricks, it's like strategies to get the roof fully paid for based off of certain damages because of building code, etc. So insurance companies kind of prey on people in the sense that they bank on people not knowing that. So, oh, you got a shingle that's missing, like we'll pay you a couple $100, and then you get it fixed. You're like, oh, okay, cool, thanks, insurance company. But in reality, oh, well, you're really supposed to do this, the other thing, and you're really supposed to replace the whole roof. So there's been instances where I've gotten people like $25,000, $30,000. They've gotten the checks, and we signed an agreement that they were supposed to then use me to do the roof, because I went back and forth over weeks to get them the money to do it. And they said, all right, thanks, Nick. It was great meeting you. Have a good day. I'm like, what?
So
They just left me hanging. They just take the money and they run. And that hurts, especially when I'm like out here sweating my butt off, like knocking doors, getting on roofs, taking pictures, fighting insurance companies, and trying to get that done. And like, it's like that could have been like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in my pocket, like that I was banking on, that I needed to like make payments or something in the beginning. And it hurt so bad. There was one time where I didn't get out of bed for a couple of days, because I'm like, dude, like I just did all this work. And I felt like I really just had no choice but to get back up and like keep working, because it's done. Like it already happened, It's like, what did I do wrong? And I got to start thinking like, what did I do wrong? Or maybe I didn't do anything wrong. Like, how can I improve, and how can I avoid that from happening, like next time or again? And there'll always be those failures, and like that will always happen, which I think is something that you have to kind of accept, but you have to be able to learn from them, because everything's nothing's going to go perfectly. And there's always going to be those trip ups, and you're going to always like fail in some capacity, or something's always going to go wrong. That's just how business goes. So it's really a matter of pivoting from that, learning from it, and trying your best to adjust to, correct for that going forward,
Yeah. I feel like, personally, behind every loss is a lesson. And every time that, I take a loss, I don't know why, but something in me just makes me double down and work harder, right? I just have to, first analyze the situation. Why did this loss happen? And how can we prevent that again in the future, right? Because we understand losses are going to come, but if you keep the mindset and framework that behind every loss is a lesson, everything is going to be okay, right? Like one of the biggest losses that I can think of, like even this year, start of the year, January, I've had deals die. Like in real estate, like deals die often. I've had a $200,000 deal die, right, on the finish line, like about to close. Everything's lined up. We're gonna make $200 grand off this deal. Things went south. Things were sour. Litigation, everything. The deal died, right? And I remember when that deal died, it kind of broke my spirit. But it just, I like to think positively about it, right? Like, okay, one, if I have the ability to get a $200,000 deal, I know I can get another one, right? So I'm thinking optimistically about the loss. Okay, I know I can get another one. And guess what happened? I mean, a month later, it wasn't 200, but it was $185,000 deal, right? Literally a month later, and I built off the momentum of that loss, right? So I think that, when you do take a loss, just use that as a time to reflect and double down, and just, you have to go hard. Like you have to continue to show up every day and work your tail off every day harder than everybody else, just so you don't take, so even if you do fail quickly and get to that next success.
It's about how hard you can get hit, not how hard you can hit. That's pretty much what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%.
So I know you guys both work in teams. What really makes a leader in a team?
That's a great question. So recently, I got promoted up to, vice president in the company, and, leadership is a very crucial, important thing. And I think that when it comes to leading, you have to lead by example, right? You truly have to lead by example. And you have to also lead the other way and guide other people. And what I found with leadership is that if you find something successful, a process that works, or a word track that works, or a line that works, right? When you're speaking with someone, just pass it on to the team, right? Don't gatekeep the information, pass it on to others, and, really try to build up others with you, right? Some leaders just try to be the main focus, point of attention, and it's just that, and they don't care about the team. It all comes back down to putting the people first, right? Show everybody everything that you learn, right? Lead by example, take action immediately, and be a man or woman of integrity. If you say you're going to do something, really truly deliver on that. And, people are going to, respect and follow by and read. And hopefully, if you're a good leader, everyone's going to be successful.
Right. So making sure that everybody in the group is on the same page and everyone is caught up. But sometimes, I'm sure you've experienced this as well in any group that you've been placed into, either at work or at school. Sometimes there are people who are left out of, let's say, the conversation or the project that's been assigned. Even if you are that person, or you realize that there's someone like that, how do you go towards getting that person included?
Yeah, I think that it starts with the people first, right? I think that you shouldn't have siloed conversations. And if it's a team conversation, the entire team should be present, engaged, and enthusiastic, and ready, to crush whatever problem we're all facing together, right? So I think that, you have to have the right people around. As far as like bringing people in, the leader should keep everyone on the same page. Now, if people fall astray with even with the right guidance in place, you really just have to, just focus on ensuring that, everybody on your team is a savage, is a killer, right? Everybody's ready to get after it. Everyone's, ready to, go and, win the championship. Everybody's a championship team player.
Yeah.
Right. Like everybody's of that quality. So as a leader, you have to, and what I've learned throughout the process recently is that you have to hire right as well. Right. So you have to make sure the people that you're hiring, are that, right? They are, they embody all the core values, right? They embody everything of someone who, is always they're gonna make sure that they're gonna be in the conversation, right? Like they're going to ensure if they don't know anything, they're going to go ask that question, right? So it's more about creating a team of people who are self-starters, who are always going to figure out problems so that situation really doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So being with people that are problem solvers and going out of their way to fix the problem at hand.
Yeah. Alignment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, we were talking about this on the way here too. How important that is, because it's like joining a new team or having members of the team who maybe aren't like as included. It's like you need to make sure that all the people on your team, even if they don't know everything, that they're coachable and that they have the drive and they want to be there. I think those are like the most important qualities, because when I joined Leverage and doing this real estate, I didn't know really anything about real estate, like very little, you know. I mean, I knew enough that I could learn from books and that I learned from the podcast, but there's so many intricacies really in any business that you have to learn like on the job. And if it were strictly off of like the knowledge base, then I probably wouldn't be there. Like if I, like the entry level. But again, it's like, you know, what David saw in Xander when he joined. It's like he may not know everything now, but I tell he's got the drive, he has the passion, and like that's really all that's necessary. Is I can mold this, I can teach him, I can guide him on the right path. And that's the key, I think, is being humble and being coachable. Because I don't know, it's kind of crazy, you know. When I first met Xander, it's like, I was like, dude, I think you were 19 at the time.
I was 19 at the time.
Yeah, I was like, dude, you're 19?
Yeah.
Like, you're here, you're doing that?
Yeah.
I was like, did you like go to college or, you know, like, I'm like, I have all these like ideas of like what the path is in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm 26 now and Xander's 20, but I look up to Xander, which is very like, for some people it's like hard to wrap your head around that, but it's like, I sit right next to Xander. I'm always the boys are asking him questions because I'm always like
right next to
looking at his screen. What is he doing? You know, like listening to calls that he's on, because it's like there's something you can learn from everybody, no matter who it is, and you have to know. You have to like realize that. You have to realize that fact. Like there's always something you can learn from somebody, and especially if they're where you want to be or they're doing what you want to do. It's like listen to that person. You know, look at how they carry themselves. It's like I saw like. Xander's 19, he's crushing it. Teach me the ways, you know, like Xander, what are you doing? Like, how does it work? You know? So I think those things are very important. I just wanted to add that. Yeah.
I know you guys moved into a new office recently. Were you in Leverage companies before you guys moved into the new office?
So I was going in on like Saturdays for a few months at the old office, and then I started June 9th of this year. At the new office.
Actually, and how has it been?
It's been great. It's been really great so far. It's definitely like a shift, and like when people ask me how it is, I say it's like pretty intense. Just because the environment, the people, everyone's like so driven and so locked in that it's exactly the position I want to be in, and it's like it is challenging at times because like the bar is set so high, but in the best way possible. You know, because it really challenges you to push yourself, and the people that I'm surrounded by, like Xander included, I couldn't ask for. I'm so grateful.
I also see David Choi's videos at times, and I can see the company culture that you guys have is just amazing. What do you guys think drives that company culture forward, where everyone is so included in everything?
Yeah, I have one word for that, and it's alignment. Honestly, right? I feel like everyone's kind of aligned on one goal, right? You know, we want to create millionaires through real estate, right? We want to be a multi-billion-dollar company, right? These are things that we say every single Monday, every single day. We say it so much that the whole company is really aligned to one goal. And we're surrounded around other people who are just striving every single day to be the best version of themselves, right? So if you create an environment like that, I mean, the content is real. Like, I mean, it's real content. If you come in the office every day, that's exactly what you will see is that. Right. And I think that, you know, the culture is such a crucial, important piece is like the culture, the people, right? It just makes you want to just win every single day. Right? Like that's how I feel.
It's so important. The people that you're surrounded by is really the person that you become. So the company culture that you go into is really important.
It's also like, you know, being 20 years old, right? I mean, You go in every single day and you get to watch, one percenters work, right? Like David Choi, 1%er, Eric Panecki, 1%er, right? Like these are people who beat out 99% of the country, right? And you get to watch every single day how they do it, and you learn it's not really that complicated. They just work harder than everyone else, right? When I first met David, for example, like I thought that he was gonna have like this crazy secret thing to tell me, or was it gonna be like this secret line that was gonna help me make, $300,000-$400,000. But to get to that point, to make the $300,000-$400,000, it was really faith and work ethic, right? That's what it really came down to, was, believing in God, putting God first in everything that you do, one. And two, outworking everybody, work like a dog, right? Like you don't like the work, you have to put in the work to win, right? Like some people are scared of work, but you have to put in the work to win. And that goes back to the culture too, because everyone knows that everybody's working. So it just creates a great culture overall.
Yeah.